I wanted to create a cool accent wall in a bedroom without spending too much money or taking too much time. So I headed to the hardware store and picked up some 1x4s. I used the ones that are least expensive, over in the lumber section, not in the molding section. When I got back to the condo I was renovating, I measured the width of the board. Even though they're 1x4s, they're actually closer to 3.5 inch in width. I measured the wall and marked out where my boards would go on the wall so that it would create a nice symmetrical pattern. I had to remember to calculate for the entire width of the board so that my calculations would work out correctly. I made sure it was level and then used a nail gun to attach the boards vertically to the wall. I secured all of my vertical boards in place along the wall. Now I could measure down for the horizontal boards. Remember again when measuring to account for the width of the board. Then I cut the horizontal boards and attached them. The next time I take on this project, I'll cut my boards a bit longer and make sure they fit very snugly in place. This will help later on. You can see in some of these connections I have a little bit of a gap, which is a little bit larger than I would have liked going forward. When it came to the outlet, I cut the board around the outlet area and left plenty of space around it so that I wouldn't have any problem plugging things in the future. Once all the boards are in place, I needed to close up the gaps in my wood pieces so that it looks like one beautiful continuous built-in. First, I caulked the inside edges of my newly formed accent wall boxes. This keeps the wall from having any gaps showing between the wood and the wall. I also had to work on making the horizontal pieces look like they fit seamlessly with the vertical ones. To do this, I used caulking and filled in the spaces. Once this dried, I sanded down the joints. Once everything was sanded down, I was able to start the fun part. I picked out a blue color that I thought would look soothing in the room. I actually mixed 2 leftover paint colors that I had left over from another project, so I didn't spend any money in paint. I mixed a dark blue called Tempe Star with a lighter gray color, and I was really happy with the result. Painting took the longest time in the project. I didn't use a roller because I wanted to make sure to get in all of the crevices with the brush. As I painted it, I could see the gaps and the imperfections disappear, and I could see the wall starting to come together. After painting, I reassessed the wall and found trouble spots that I wanted to address. In these areas, I caulked again and sanded them again. Once I painted those spots once more, they looked fantastic. We finished the new flooring, added the baseboards, and moved furniture into the room. I set up the curtains, and the room was now ready. Here's how it turned out. The entire project took me 1 weekend to do, and it only cost me $30. That was the cost of the wood, since I didn't have to pay for the paint, since it's something that I reused from a previous project. I hope this inspired you to create a cool accent wall in your room. Thanks for watching Home Talk, and see you next time.
We have been making over our mudroom, and I'm going to show you the final step. We are going to be doing a wall treatment using some simple items around your home. So the first step in this process is we want to measure out our wall and our sections. I'm going to be doing a chevron type pattern on the wall, so I want to make sure that I have 8 10-inch sections. Like I mentioned, we're going to have 10-inch sections. So as you can see, I measured this out to 10 inches. I'm allotting 2 inches for the painter's tape that I'm going to be using. And this painter's tape is going to create the space between each section. So right here, you can see I marked off at the 8 and the 10-inch mark, and that's where I'm going to place my tape. Okay, so now that we have our wall marked all the way across, we're going to go ahead and put the tape on. I'm going to put my tape right between the 2-inch mark. This will give us the space between the wall and the tape to put our pattern, and then we'll do this all the way down. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my tape all the way up. Okay, so you want to make sure that your tape is straight as you can get it, going all the way up. There we go. All right, that's our first one. So I'm going to go ahead and tape these off all the way across, and then we'll get started on the next step. All right, so as you can see, we taped off the entire room, and now it's time to get painting. So for this wall treatment, like I mentioned before, we're just using a simple sponge that you can find around your home. This is just a cleaning sponge that I found at the grocery store. This one is about 1.5 inches, but you can go with whatever thickness you would like to use for your specific treatment. I'm using white in this room. I already have white here on the wall and I want it to match, so that's what I'm going to be using for my paint color. You want to make sure when you're using your sponge that you're not using a ton of paint. So you're just going to dip it in gently, and then you want to blot the paint off on a piece of cardboard. You're not going to be using a lot of paint for this process. So you just want to make sure that you kind of get a good amount of coverage, but where you can see that it is a sponge treatment. So let's get started on the wall. When you're using your sponge to paint along your wall, you want to use your tape as a guide. So as you can see, I am putting my sponge at like a 45-degree angle, and I'm lining up the top edge of the sponge with the paint to make sure I get it just right each time. So I'm going to press, come away, and then we'll do the other one. I'm lining up the top angle, press, and come away. And we're going to do that all the way up. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space between each one, and then we're going to keep going. And it's going to make this cute pattern all the way up. As you can see, I don't need that much paint. This is going a long way because you don't want it to look perfect. That's the fun idea of this sponge paint, is you really can't mess it up. You just want to make sure that your spacing is good. So we're going to keep going up here. Again, I'm going to make sure I don't have too much paint on my sponge. Line it up. And when we remove this tape later, each row that we're doing is going to have the perfect spacing between each section of paint. So I'm going to keep going, and then I'll show you the process as we move along. Okay, as you can see, I'm going for my next one. I'm going to line up the corner here, making sure that it's the angle that I want it to be at, pressing, and then doing the other side. You can't mess this up. That's the beauty of this sponge paint. And as you can see, your paint is going to go a long way. You do not need very much paint at all. So I would suggest just using something you already have on hand, and that will make this project even cheaper. So I'm going to keep going all the way up. We're going to continue down the wall, and then I'm excited to show you the final product. I could not be more excited with how this turned out. It's now time to remove the tape, and we'll go from there. So super easy, like always. You're just going to pull it off, and as you can see, the spacing between the pattern is perfect. I could not be more excited. We're going to take the next one off. As you can see up top here, I got over on the tape a little bit, but the easy thing about this is that since it's already divided, I can come back in with my sponge, fix those little spots, and it'll be ready to go. I'm going to keep taping, I'm going to keep taking the tape down, and then we'll show you the final product. I could not be more excited about how this project turned out. It was easy, it was inexpensive, and it's the perfect addition to this space. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you all again soon.